Hello, this is Mike Hayes and we're talking about musical scales. And on this video we'll be looking at two scales in particular, the G blues scale and the G Mixo-Lydian scale. Now, some of you will be familiar with both of these musical scales. I'm sure most of you will be familiar with the G blues scale. So what I want to do here is to start this video off by presenting the idea of musical contrast, the equivalent to a musical sweet and sour, if you will, with the G blues scale providing the sour and the G Mixo-Lydian providing the contrasting sweet effect. Now, of course, as most of us know, we can just about play the blues scale over any chord. What I want to do here is play the notes straight, no slides, no bends, no guitar effects. I want you to have a listen to how the notes in the blues scale sound when played against a G7th chord. I'm going to play the notes very slowly, and when I do this you'll notice that two notes in particular, that's the B flat and the D flat note, you'll hear when we play these two notes against the G7th background, it will create a musical dissonance. And this can be a great effect because it creates a musical tension that, providing we can resolve that tension, will sound very cool in a solo. Whereas when we hear the G Mixo-Lydian mode played against the G7th chord, you'll hear that all these notes in the Mixolydian mode fit very nicely over the G7th chord. So let's go and have a listen to how these two musical scales sound when they're played against the exact same G7th background. In this next example, I'll be playing a G7th chord as a background, and we'll be comparing the sound of a G blues scale, the sound of the notes in the G blues scale, when they're played slowly over this G7th chord. We'll be comparing the sound of each of the notes in the blues scale to that of the notes in a G Mixolydian mode. So here's the background, and we'll have a listen to firstly the G blues scale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's use exactly the same G7th background, only this time we'll play a G Mixolydian mode over the G7th chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. Up to this point on the video, we've been comparing the sound of the blues scale with that of the Mixolydian mode. And now I'd like to dig a little bit further and go deeper into our discussion on musical scales. The next concept I'd like to present is that each musical scale creates its own harmonic environment. It has its own unique sound and creates its own atmosphere. And when I'm doing musical theory, I like to make the subject come alive. So far, we've had a look at the notes that go to make up the Mixolydian mode, we've had a look at the underlying structure, and we've discussed how the Mixolydian mode relates to the dominant 7th chord. And while all this information is very important, what we really need to know is, how does the Mixolydian mode sound? How do we feel when we hear the Mixolydian mode? Now essentially, when I think of the Mixolydian mode, I immediately think of a swamp sound. Now, of course, trying to describe musical sound is like trying to describe colour to somebody. Everyone's going to hear it slightly differently and use their own words to describe what they're hearing or seeing. So even though we've said that the Mixolydian mode can be played to produce a blues effect, I would take it a little bit further. In my mind, it creates a swamp effect. So it's a little bit different from the blues, but to me there's a slightly different feeling that you get when you play the Mixolydian mode. So to help convey this swamp feel, so you can make up your own mind how the Mixolydian mode sounds, I'm going to use a song called Born on the Bayou. It's by Creedence Clearwater Revival, and the guitar solo is by John Fogerty. And I'm using this song because over 90% of this tune is based on an E7th vamp. And there's very few songs that have this unique sound and the same type of intensity and atmosphere that this song conveys. You actually feel like you're in the middle of a swamp down in the deep south. And that's the type of sound I'm thinking of when I'm thinking of the Mixolydian mode. So let's just see what's going on here. E7th is chord 5 in the key of A. My scale of choice to play over the E7th chord is the E Mixolydian mode, and we can see that we have the same Mixolydian structure, the underlying structure of tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone. That's the same underlying structure that we saw when we were looking at the G Mixolydian mode. An interesting point about the guitar solo is that even though John Fogerty could have used an E blues scale or an E minor pentatonic scale over the E7th chord, he chose to use an E Mixolydian mode to help convey the mood that he wanted to create. Take particular note of how he begins his guitar solo on the note A, and he moves between A and G sharp at the beginning of his guitar solo. This of course is where the semitone occurs in the Mixolydian mode, and it helps create extra tension and intensity in his solo. The A note is actually what we call a colour tone, and we'll be discussing colour tones and hybrid scales and that in the next video. Don't forget to have a listen to Born on the Bayou. That will give you an idea of the sound and the feel of the Mixolydian mode, and I hope you've enjoyed this video and got something out of it. I'll see you on the next one.